Good afternoon, everybody. This is Caleb here, Indiana Weather Online, Indiana Weather Network. We are live here to cover kind of a unique scenario that has come about here this evening. Notice how we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings in the state of Indiana. We do have one blue box for far northeastern Wells County, Indiana, and northern Adams County, Indiana. This is the special weather statement. Usually we don't go live for special weather statements. However, this one is special. We have a land spout that has been confirmed by emergency management. A land spout is not a tornado. However, it looks like a tornado. It's a funnel cloud that attaches from the cloud all the way to the ground. However, it forms very similar to that of a dust devil. It forms from the ground up. If I turn on rotation or velocity to look for rotation in this storm, normally you see greens and reds holding hands like a couplet. We don't see that here. You can see a little bit of green here. That's your downdraft. That's the core of the storm. But we don't see reds and greens coming together holding hands. Land spouts don't form from rotating thunderstorms. There's maybe some broad rotation exhibited higher up in the storm. These are kind of weak supercellular like storms. However, there's no rotation at the surface. But there has been a land spout observed by this thunderstorm. I don't know if it's kind of somewhere near the Wells Adams County line here in northeastern Indiana, south of Fort Wayne. Land spouts can cause minor damage. They can blow loose objects around. They can blow shingles off and blow your trash can into your neighbor's yard. So they are good to take shelter from. Go find yourself in the lowest level of your home, interior room, away from windows until this storm has passed. Again, a confirmed land spout has been observed by emergency management, and other cold air funnels have been observed as well from this storm. This is a land spout observed, something we don't see very often here in Indiana. Land spouts sometimes will count towards our tornado total in Indiana. If this land spout is 100% confirmed to have a ground circulation, that'll be number 60 for this year here in Indiana. But again, a land spout looks like a tornado. However, the mechanics are different. It rotates. You'll see a dust circulation on the ground. However, it does not form from a rotating thunderstorm, but they are good to take seriously and find shelter in a sturdy structure away from windows until the storm has passed. A land spout has been confirmed by emergency management per the special weather statement in effect for another 25 minutes here. Conditions are favorable for the development of weak, brief funnel clouds. This type of funnel cloud is generally harmless, but on rare occasions, they can briefly touch down. We do have an observed warning, or an observed tag, rather, not a warning. This isn't a tornado warning. They can produce wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour on rare occasions. Land spouts can cause minor damage. So kind of a unique scenario that we have going on here tonight. Notice how, even though we have an observed land spout, we don't have a tornado warning. Well, why is that? Well, generally, the National Weather Service usually doesn't issue tornado warnings for a land spout as they're generally weaker. They're kind of a cousin to a tornado, but they're not a tornado. Tornado warnings are observed for rotating thunderstorms, which have a strong rotating updraft in terms of mesocyclone. Those types of thunderstorms produce large, long-lived tornadoes and much stronger winds with these as well. Land spout tornadoes form from the ground up. There's a cold front draped across this region here, and you can actually kind of see it here on radar. So here's your cold front. It's draped right in here. Notice all these little striations on radar. These are winds out of the northwest coming this way, and out of the surface, we have winds like this. Bad arrow there, I apologize, but we have winds backed out of the southwest. This is called convergence. You have convergence along frontal boundaries and cold fronts, etc. This adds a little bit of spin to the lower levels of the atmosphere. Not enough that can really form a rotating thunderstorm. We don't really have the dynamics in play today for large, long-lived tornadoes or supercell thunderstorms. However, whenever you get low-level boundaries or surface convergence, just like a dust devil that picks up, you have winds moving at different directions and speed. Oftentimes, when wind goes around a building or something like that, you get these little dust swirls on the backside. Same thing here, atmospherically speaking. We have winds at different directions and speed at the surface. Where those winds meet and interact with the storm, aka an updraft, we have air that is rising at the surface that begins to spin a little bit, and that picks up dust, and sometimes you can get a brief funnel cloud that'll come down, and we get a land spout tornado. And we have one confirmed here in Adams County, Indiana, by emergency management. This is our only thunderstorm, believe it or not, in the entire state of Indiana. This is our only thunderstorm in Indiana right now. We have a few showers along the I-70 corridor here, along the Crawfordsville area, and maybe a little pop-up shower near Logansport, but only one thunderstorm right now. And we do have a landspout confirmed tornado here with this. Minor damage to outside objects is possible if these funnel clouds touch down. Now, these are not tornado warnings. This is not a tornado event in progress. This is a land spout event, and a really unique scenario that we have going on here. We don't typically go live for special weather statements, but this one's unique and it's worth going live for, as land spouts can freak and scare a lot of people, and rightfully so. They look like tornadoes and they act like tornadoes. There's a condensation funnel a lot of times, and there's a dust swirl at the surface. It looks like a tornado to the untrained eye. However, tornadoes form from rotating updrafts termed a mesocyclone. And when I turn on relative velocity to look for that rotation, once I switch back to Fort Wayne's radar here out of Indianapolis, you'll notice we don't have any rotation. We just don't have it. This is not a rotating thunderstorm, but we do have that convergence at the surface, changing of winds with speed and direction at the ground that can cause these dust swirls to spin up. And we have one confirmed here in Adams County. You can see these little greens here, and one might say, well, it kind of has a hook on it. You know, we kind of have some greens and reds here. Yeah, we do. Sure, one could argue that. But we don't have any rotation here at the surface. These little greens that you see here south of Preble near Honduras in Adams County, just to the west of Monroe, about 2 miles north of 124, is where the core of this storm is where your downdraft is. That's maybe some pea-sized hail, some gusty winds, and torrential rainfall is occurring with this storm as well. A lot of times a land spout will kind of be on the edge of the storm. What you see here is an interesting feature. There's this tail-like feature coming off of this storm, approaching from Ossian, south of the Toxin area, and north of 124. This is what we call an outflow boundary. This is rain-cooled air being pushed out away from the thunderstorm, and my guess is where the land spout would be, where the storm and outflow boundary meet, somewhere right in here. Now, I don't know that 100%. Based on radar and the physics of how storms work, the mechanics of these storms, that would be the place where I had to guess is where this land spout was spotted, somewhere in there. The official storm report hasn't been published yet, so I don't know the exact location. All I know is that emergency management has spotted a ground circulation on the ground thanks to a land spout tornado in Adams County. So this is Adams County, Indiana, south of Fort Wayne, Indiana. This is our only thunderstorm in the entire state of Indiana, but a very unique scenario undergoing right now where we had a confirmed land spout tornado on the ground in Adams County, or somewhere around the Adams-Wells County line, somewhere right in there. This storm is moving off to the east-southeast at a pretty good pace, moving at about I don't have a wind measurement on statements, but it is moving at about 30 to 40 miles an hour east-southeast. So it is going to be moving into the Mercer County, Ohio area. So if you have any friends in the Mercer County area, say Salina, Chattanooga, Rockford, Ohio, and Mercer County, let them know the storm will be moving out of Adams County and perhaps clipping northeastern Jay County, State Road 67, southeast of Geneva and Bern. It is going to be heading towards the Bern vicinity here, probably in the next 15, 20 minutes or so, before it exits Indiana and heads into Mercer County, Ohio, and out of Indiana. There is some small hail occurring with this storm, maybe some pea-sized hail within this as well. There's also gusty winds. We have gusty downdraft in here, a very heavy thunderstorm. We have some dry air aloft, but we also have a lot of cold air aloft. This is a cold core setup where the difference in temperature and strong winds aloft create lift. That's kind of the scenario that we have here. The freezing level today is about 10,000 feet. That's very shallow. You don't have to go up very high in the atmosphere to get very cold very quickly. And when you have these scenarios, you get what's called evaporative cooling when you get some dry air mixing in as well. And that can cause the thunderstorm to become very dense, very heavy. And that heavy cold air is denser than warm air, and it wants to sink. And when it sinks, it can create really gusty winds. And in this case, about 50 miles per hour is what the statement has on it as well. And it's also going to cool the air down. If you're in the Adams County vicinity or even northeastern Wells County where the outflow boundary is, you're going to notice the air cool down and the humidity go away. We don't have a lot of humidity out there, but what humidity is there is going to be non-existent within the storm and behind the storm as well. So something you're going to notice. You're going to notice that winds pick up. You'll smell the smell of rain, and the air temperature is going to drop pretty quick. I wouldn't be surprised if it drops into the 50s underneath this storm, as our freezing level is very low today. and this storm is going to pull some of that cold air down to the ground as well. But we do have a land spout confirmed on this storm. This is an observed tag, a land spout observed with this special weather statement. This is wind speed has been dropped down to 30 miles per hour now. So we had a 50 mile per hour core, and that has dropped down to 30. So we are starting to lose some intensity with the storm, and that's as expected. We're starting to lose our sun angle. Our sun's starting to go down. So we're losing that daytime instability where the sun heats the air, it wants to rise, and it helps destabilize the atmosphere. So as the sun goes down, we're going to see that atmospheric stability come in, and it is going to start to tame the atmosphere. It's going to calm things down a little bit. Widespread showers and thunderstorms not expected tonight. We did have some decent rain across central and northern Indiana earlier today. A few people, not a lot of rain, most picking up between a tenth or so. But hey, every little bit counts. We'll take it, right? But an observed land spout tornado was on the ground as of a few minutes ago near the Adams-Wells County line, north of State Road 124, south of 224. So in this vicinity here, there was a confirmed land spout a few minutes ago, and it is moving off to the south-southeast at about 30 miles an hour. So it will be heading towards the Bern area. The good news is about land spouts. Because they do not form from a rotating updraft, they're not self-sustained very long. They form, but if you have any... So if you remember from your high school physics class, there's a law, physics law, right? And that is an object in motion will stay in motion unless acted upon an uneven force, right? So as long as all the variables are together and your gears are turning like a well-oiled machine, your land spout will stay on the ground. But the minute you take a variable out or change a variable, your land spout will dissipate. For example, we have winds out of the southwest. So we have winds going this way and winds behind the front coming out of the northwest. If you change the direction or the speed or even the temperature, your land spout will just vanish. It'll evaporate. It'll disappear entirely. So these things are very short-lived, but they can also reappear just as quick as they develop as well. So something to keep in mind here in Adams County. Land spouts aren't something we see very often here in Indiana. Only a couple times a year. And our most recent one, I think, was in Randolph County near Winchester, maybe a month or so ago. We had a land spout on the ground there as well. So these form from surface boundaries. As you have that convergence, we have a cold front coming through in this case that acts as our surface boundary. On the backside, we have winds out of the northwest, and ahead of that, we have winds out of the south-southwest. So we have what's called convergence, winds going at different speeds and directions at the surface, and where those meet, you have a little bit of spin, and that can help pick some dust up underneath these thunderstorms. Thunderstorms are rising columns of air, trying to achieve atmospheric stability. That's all a thunderstorm is. It's trying to find a balance and trying to find that atmospheric stability. So as that air wants to rise, sometimes underneath the storm, it can pick up some dust and it'll connect to the cloud. So that is why we are live here. We'll be live here for a couple more minutes here. Probably won't be live super long. And we don't usually go live for special weather statements. However, this is a unique situation that's worth going live for, as it can think tornado. So that is why we are live here this evening. Stormlord asks, does this count in terms of Indiana's tornadoes total, or do we know until later? So interesting fact about land spouts. If they are confirmed, a lot of times they will go into the NWS-DAT, which is a database of confirmed tornadoes in Indiana. So what'll likely happen here, land spouts are very weak. If it's in a rural area and if it doesn't cause any damage, but we had confirmation that there is ground circulation, such as dust being kicked up, leaves being blown around, etc. We have that confirmation. It'll more than likely get rated as an EFU, meaning EF unknown. The enhanced Fujita scale in terms of rating tornadoes only works if tornadoes cause damage. We have to have a damage point to then, which correlates to a wind speed. That's kind of how Dr. Ted Fujita developed that scale, and it has some flaws, but it's the best thing we have at this present time. But if a tornado, in this case a land spout, is in an open field, we know it touched down, we have confirmation of that, but it doesn't cause any damage, it'll be an EFU for unknown because we don't know the wind speed and we don't know really the full strength of it because we have no damage to compare it to, if that makes sense. So if it does get verified 100% by the National Weather Service, we'll likely see this rated as an EFU for unknown. Unless it does by chance hit something and cause damage, minor damage, then maybe an EF0. But again, um, land spouts are generally very weak. They're very brief. Winds less than 60 miles an hour on most cases, but they can be strong. So it is worth getting inside. No one wants to be outside with a land spout possibly producing winds up to 60 miles an hour. That can cause blowing debris. That can cause dirt to blow in your face. It's just not safe to be outside. So hopefully that helps answer your question there, Stormlord, or for anyone else who was thinking the same thing. Will this count towards our yearly tornado count? And for those of you playing at home, we're at 59 tornadoes for the year here in Indiana. That is the second most active year on record for Indiana. Last year actually was the second most active year on record for Indiana with 54. And we beat last year's record for the number 2 spot with 59. So if this one is confirmed as an EFU, like we have that ground circulation, it'll be up to the discretion of emergency management and the National Weather Service in northern Indiana here in this case. This is their forecasting area. So they'll look at the data and look at the reports, and they'll determine that possibly later, as early as this evening. A lot of times during EFU events, you don't have to do a ground survey. You can confirm that via photos and EMA. So typically we'll have an answer pretty quickly. But this special weather statement is in effect for another 11 minutes here. For Adams County, the storm is solely in Adams County. It has left northern Wells County. But we'll stay live here for a few more minutes here until the storm reaches the Chattanooga, Ohio area, or the Indiana state line, or loses its intensity altogether. But stick it with it here. If anybody's watching for Adams County, and if you have damage reports or anything like that, or photos, send it in. Let us know. That helps us out. It helps the National Weather Service out. And it's a good thing altogether here. But this is our only thunderstorm here in Indiana. A very unique setup here tonight as well. We don't usually ever go live for special weather statements. However, this is a very unique case, and it's worth going live for as well. Get to learn a little bit something perhaps new tonight as well. A lot of times people don't even know what a land spout is. They often go overlooked and forgotten about as well. So they are a unique part of Indiana's climatology. We don't get them often, but we do get them on occasions. We've had a couple of them this year. Good news is they're brief, they're short-lived, and they don't typically cause a lot of damage. They can blow loose objects around, blow leaves down. They can blow your trash can pretty efficiently into your neighbor's yard too. So whenever there's a thunderstorm in the forecast, it's always good to pick up loose items that can be prone to blowing around. But land spouts look like tornadoes, but they're not tornadoes. They don't form from a rotating thunderstorm. Land spouts form from surface convergence, and typically the appearance of a land spout tornado or even a cold air funnel in general look a lot different structurally and mechanically than a supercellular tornado does. What a couple things to really note here, the differences between the two. I might be able to pull up a slide here to show you that here in a little bit. But the difference is when you look at it visually, you'll see a skinny little noodle-like funnel. Not very significant. It doesn't really form under a wall cloud. When you stare at the cloud or the storm itself, you don't really see any rotation with it. The funnel cloud will rotate, but the storm itself doesn't have a mesocyclone, so the actual updraft won't be spinning. You won't see that. And the funnel cloud looks very small, very insignificant. Versus a supercellular tornado, typically you'll see a wall cloud begin to form, and that whole base, that whole structure of the storm underneath will be rotating, whether it's rapidly rotating or broadly rotating. We don't have that here in this case. We have no rotating updraft, and it's underneath that rotating updraft that you'll see typically a stouter funnel cloud or a bowl underneath a wall cloud for a supercellular tornado. And that's really the difference in appearance there. You have a skinny, insignificant looking funnel cloud versus something that looks a little more threatening. Yeah, Stormlord, if I might be able to pull up a graphic here. I'm going to try to do that here behind the scenes for you. That's not what I wanted. Let me try to get it pulled up here, and I'll show you guys the difference. It's a really good visual representation of what I'm talking about here as to what we have going on here from an atmospheric standpoint and from an observer standpoint. If anyone's watching here that has taken a National Weather Service spotter class, they go over the difference here, because it is an important difference to know the difference between a cold air funnel and a supercellular funnel. It means a lot to forecasters because they're invisible on radar. We can't see them on radar. The National Weather Service can't see them on radar. They are invisible. So I'm going to try to. I'm just behind the scenes here, going through a couple graphics here, trying to find the graphic here for you, and I will get that loaded in here for you, so you guys can see the difference here. But we do still have that special weather statement in effect for Adams County for another few more minutes here in Indiana. It still has a landspout observed tag in it, so that a landspout may or may not still be on the ground, or we may have an additional landspout on the ground, or they're going to leave the tag in place because it has a history of producing landspouts until the expiration date of this statement. So there could be a couple things going on here. Either way, this storm has the history of producing cold air funnels and possible landspouts. I do have the graphic. I do promise that. I didn't have it pulled up as we really weren't forecasting cold air funnels or landspouts today. We always had the risk for isolated thunderstorms, but we weren't forecasting landspouts. But love having the opportunity to go live here and explain what a landspout is to you guys. That way you can know the difference and learn from it as well. Next time you're out in the field or out driving, if you see one, you'll know what it is. They are very cool in nature, but they do be taken with caution as well. If I can't find the graphic, I'll try to put it up on the page here later this evening, and you guys can know the difference that way as well. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in chat here. As we don't go live for a landspout very often, we don't see them very often here in Indiana, so this is a very unique scenario that we have here going on here. But they are worth going live for, as we do have an observed tag in this case, which is quite rare. Only a couple times a year do we see this actually unfold here in Indiana. Yeah, I'm kind of frustrated with myself that I can't find the graphic that I have of that. Uh, I do have one. I do promise. There is one in here. It's like when you're looking in the refrigerator and all you want is a pickle on your sandwich, but you can't find the pickle jar to save your life, even though it's probably right in front of you. That's kind of how I feel right now, if you have been in that situation before. You know it's there, but you just can't find it. And that's the most, I think, the most agonizing part of this whole thing. Yeah, Laura, Evansville is okay in the clear. The best chance for showers is really across northern Indiana. However, those chances are going to be dwindling pretty quickly here. We're losing our sunlight, we're losing our daytime heating component, and that's really what we had going on here today. It was that daytime heating component caused the air to rise, destabilize, and become marginally to moderately unstable here today with the amount of cold air that we have aloft. This is what we call a cold core setup, where we have you don't have to go up very far to really run into that cold air. The 32-degree marker, 0 degrees Celsius, is only at about 10,000 feet today. Very low. So these storms have very low freezing levels. So if you're underneath, this storm in Adams County, your temperatures may even drop as low as the 50s, while surrounding areas are in the 70s. That's how much cold air this shower could be pulling down to the ground. Nope. So this statement does expire here in 2 minutes. So my guess is they're going to let it expire. We may see an additional statement come on. I'd be interested to know if they will or not. That'll be up to the confidence of the National Weather Service, but also emergency management on scene as well. Land spouts are typically short-lived, which is good, but they are worth mentioning as they can cause quite a bit of damage in terms of loose damage, leaves blowing around. They can cause trash cans to blow around and minor damage as well. Typically winds between 40 and 60 miles per hour is what land spouts typically have. So they are worth taking shelter from. You don't want to be out in it, of course. That can be quite dangerous. You can have debris and dust blown at you, and you can be knocked down to the ground as well. Yeah, I'm quite frustrated. I'm sorry, guys. I cannot find that graphic to save my life here tonight. I don't know what folder I had it in, as it's been a while since I have had to bring it out. So I apologize about that. But I'll try to have it up on the page here if I can find it. So we probably will end our stream here as soon as the special weather statement expires. Thank you for joining us, though. Hopefully, no property damage was caused by this land spout that was on the ground. And there's our expiration date here. So if you're in the path of this storm, let's say Bern, Geneva, Chattanooga, J City, basically southeast Allen County, or sorry, Adams County, not Allen County. Watch out for possible cold air funnels or even a brief land spout or two with this shower as it continues moving off to the south and east into eventually Mercer County, Ohio, towards the Salina area, Chattanooga area, and areas in between, maybe getting to the Wabash area as well. So State Road 29 here and 33. Those would be the roads to watch for here in Northeast Indiana and Northwest Ohio. So with that being said, probably going to be ending our stream here. But thank you for joining us here this evening, as we weren't expecting to go live, but we kind of had a unique setup that we couldn't really pass up on for going live, as it was a good educational scenario as well, but also worth getting warning out there to those in its wake as well. So with that being said, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your holiday weekend. Many of us have a 3-day weekend coming up here. Enjoy it. The weather looks fantastic. Going to start out a little chilly, but all of us will be in the upper 70s, low 80s by Labor Day on Monday under sunny skies. So enjoy the nice weather. Enjoy the break from the heat and humidity. We have a brief warm up on the way before perhaps a secondary shot of cold air coming here in about a week and a half. So with that being said, have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time.